The massive alien ship emerged from the darkness of space, gliding silently into Earth's orbit. Its hull shimmered with strange metals unknown to human science as it positioned itself above the Pacific Ocean. Across the globe, military forces went on high alert, but no hostile action came from the visitors. After 3 days of tense waiting, the aliens sent their first message: "We come in peace as representatives of the Galactic Confederation. We wish to meet your leaders." Commander Jaiwo Park stood at attention behind the Secretary General as the United Nations hastily assembled an emergency session. As head of Earth's Space Defense Initiative, she had been called in to assess potential threats. Her hand rested near her sidearm as the large doors at the end of the assembly hall opened. The alien delegation entered, 8 different species moving in perfect formation. Some walked on multiple legs, others floated on gravity platforms. Their shapes and sizes varied wildly, from beings that resembled tall, elegant trees to short, stocky creatures with armored shells. "We extend greetings from the 28 civilizations of the Galactic Confederation," said a tall, blue-skinned alien whose translator converted its musical tones into human language. "I am Ambassador Ronald of the Moldari. We have observed your world for many cycles and believe the time has come to welcome you into our community of worlds." Jaiwo studied each alien carefully, noting their movements, the technology they carried, and the subtle ways they interacted with each other. Something felt off. The Moldari's eyes darted nervously as he spoke, and 2 of the smaller aliens kept exchanging glances. "Earth is honored by your invitation," the Secretary General replied. "But we must ask, why now? Why has the Confederation chosen this moment to reveal itself?" Ambassador Ronald's blue skin rippled slightly. "The stars have aligned favorably for integration. Your species has reached sufficient technological maturity to join our community." The answer was too smooth, too practiced. Jaiwo made a note on her tablet. In the days that followed, the Confederation delegates shared information about their alliance, trade routes spanning thousands of light years, shared scientific knowledge, and cultural exchange programs. They set up temporary offices in Geneva and began the process of integrating Earth into their communications network. Jaiwo was assigned as security liaison to the delegation. She noticed how they avoided certain topics. Questions about conflicts or military matters were redirected to discussions of trade opportunities or cultural exchanges. One evening, while escorting Ambassador Ronald and his aide back to their quarters, Jaiwo took a shortcut through a garden area. The aliens, thinking themselves alone, began speaking in their native tongue without activating their translators. Jaiwo couldn't understand the words, but their tone was unmistakable, urgent, worried. She caught what sounded like Zarkin repeated several times, along with what her translator later identified as containment protocols. She reported her observations to General Hyunwoo Kim, her commanding officer. "They're hiding something," she insisted. "All this talk about peaceful cooperation, I think they're facing some kind of threat." The general nodded thoughtfully. "Keep watching. Say nothing for now." 3 weeks later, Earth formally joined the Galactic Confederation in a ceremony broadcast worldwide. Humans celebrated this new era of interstellar relations with parades and parties. Career opportunities with the Confederation became the most sought-after positions on Earth. Jaiwo received a promotion and an offer to join the first human delegation to visit the Confederation's central worlds. Before departure, General Hyunwoo pulled her aside. "We need you out there, Commander. You have good instincts. Find out what they're not telling us." The journey to the Confederation hub world took 2 weeks in a ship that bent space in ways human science barely understood. Jaiwo spent the time studying the data they'd been given about member species and their territories. She noticed a pattern in how territories were arranged, like a defensive formation around certain sectors of space. When she asked about these unmarked regions, her Moldari guide quickly changed the subject. During a formal dinner on the hub world, Jaiwo slipped away and accessed a public information terminal. She searched for Zarkin and found only restricted files. Using her military override codes, she managed to unlock a single image, a stark, black warship with angular lines that seemed designed for combat. A voice behind her made her jump. "Curious humans," said a tall, four-armed alien she hadn't met before. "Always asking questions. The Zarkin are not your concern. They're why we're here, aren't they?" Jaiwu asked directly. The alien's eyes narrowed. Enjoy the peace while it lasts, human. Your species may yet prove useful in ways you cannot imagine. 3 months after Earth officially joined the Galactic Confederation, Commander Jaiwu Park sat in her new office aboard the orbital station Unity. As Earth's military liaison to the Confederation, she had spent weeks feeling like little more than a ceremonial figurehead. The aliens treated humans politely but kept them away from any meaningful discussions about defense or security. That changed when the emergency alarms blared throughout the station at 0300 hours. Jaiwu rushed to the command center to find the alien representatives already gathered, their usually calm demeanors replaced by obvious distress. Holographic displays showed battles raging across several star systems. "What's happening?" she demanded. The Moldari ambassador Ronald turned to her, his blue skin pale with stress. The Zarkan Empire has launched attacks on 4 border worlds simultaneously. Their fleets have broken through our defensive lines. The Zarkan? You never mentioned them in your briefings about potential threats, Jaiwu said, unable to keep the accusation from her voice. We had hoped, we believed the situation was contained, replied Ronald. We were wrong. The central display showed a massive warship, black and angular, firing weapons that tore through Confederation ships with frightening ease. 3 Confederation cruisers exploded in quick succession. Those are our best ships, whispered a gray-skinned Tellurian officer. We cannot stop them. Council leader Tezer stepped forward. The tall, slender alien who had previously dismissed human military capabilities now looked directly at Jaiwu. Commander Park, we require human assistance. Your species possesses unconventional thinking that might prove useful in this crisis. Jaiwu kept her expression neutral despite her satisfaction at being proven right. I'll need to consult with Earth Command. And I'll need complete information about what we're facing. Within hours, the first data packages about the Zarkan reached Earth. Captain Taeho Choi, head of tactical analysis, quickly assembled a team to study the battle footage. Look at how they move, Taeho pointed to the screen where Zarkan ships maintain perfect formations. They fight like machines, predictable, structured. Every maneuver follows standard doctrines. He highlighted several moments where Zarkan ships seemed vulnerable but Confederation forces failed to capitalize. Their formation creates these blind spots, he continued. And they repeat the same attack patterns. It's like they've never had to adapt their tactics before. General Hyunwoo Kim studied the reports with a grim expression. The Confederation races have maintained peace for so long they've forgotten how to wage effective war. The Zarkan are winning through sheer aggression and discipline. Earth's response was swift. Within 2 weeks, they converted 3 colony ships into military vessels and prepared a force of 5,000 soldiers. The move alarmed some Confederation representatives. Humans are too aggressive, protested the Viridian ambassador during an emergency council session. Their inclusion in combat operations could escalate the conflict. Without them, there will be no Confederation left to protect, countered Ronald. The Garan system fell yesterday. Millions dead. As the human ships prepared to depart, Jaiwu addressed the troops. Among them stood Lieutenant Miho Kong, who led a special operations team. The Confederation doesn't know what they're asking for, Jaiwu told them. They want our help, but they fear our methods. They fight by rules. We fight to win. The troops nodded in understanding. Many had combat experience in Earth's recent conflicts. They knew what it meant to adapt and overcome. Captain Taeho approached Jaiwu after the briefing. I've analyzed all their battle data. The Zarkan have never faced an enemy that doesn't follow conventional tactics. They'll expect us to behave like the other Confederation species. Then we'll show them something new, Jaiwu replied. The night before deployment, Jaiwu received a secure call from General Hyunwoo. The situation has worsened, he said. The Zarkan have surrounded the Tari 7 outpost. The Confederation forces are days from surrender. We'll reach them in time, Jaiwu promised. Remember your real mission, Commander. Yes, we're helping the Confederation, but we're also showing humanity's value. Make them understand why they need us. As Earth's first interstellar combat fleet departed the solar system, news came that another Confederation world had fallen. The Zarkan Empire pushed closer to the core systems with each passing day. In the lead ship, Jaiwo studied the enemy fleet formations one last time. The Zarkan were formidable, disciplined, and undefeated. They'd never fought humans before, she told her officers. Let's show them why that was a mistake. The fleet entered faster than light travel, heading toward what would become humanity's first interstellar battle. Behind them, Earth waited anxiously for news, while ahead, both allies and enemies were about to learn what humans were truly capable of when pushed to war. The Confederation outpost on Tari 7 had been under siege for 18 days. Its outer defenses had collapsed, and the remaining alien soldiers had retreated to the central fortress. Zarkan warships formed a tight blockade around the planet, their black hulls absorbing light like wounds in space. "Surrender now and receive mercy," the Zarkan commander broadcast on all frequencies. "You have 1 hour to lower your shields." Inside the fortress, the defenders had lost hope. Their ammunition ran low, and no reinforcements had arrived despite repeated calls for help. "We should accept their terms," suggested the Moldari captain, his blue skin pale with exhaustion. The Zarkan sometimes spare those who surrender. Before anyone could respond, proximity alarms blared. New ships had entered the system, but not from the direction of Confederation space. They came from behind the Zarkan blockade. "Identify those vessels," ordered the station commander. The screen flickered to show 5 human ships, smaller than the Zarkan cruisers but moving with startling speed. They darted between the enemy vessels, firing precision shots at engines and weapons systems. "This is Commander Jaiwo Park of Earth Forces," came a transmission. "Hold position. Help has arrived." The Zarkan responded with disciplined precision, their ships breaking formation to engage the new threat. Their movements followed textbook space combat maneuvers, designed to trap enemies in overlapping fields of fire. But the human ships refused to follow expected patterns. They split into smaller groups, took seemingly suicidal paths through debris fields, and executed tight turns that strained their structural integrity. "What are they doing?" asked a Tellurian officer watching the battle. "They'll get themselves killed." Lieutenant Miho Khan led the most daring operation. His small strike team piloted a transport vessel directly toward the largest Zarkan ship. As the massive enemy guns targeted them, the transport suddenly went dark and cold, appearing dead in space. The Zarkan commander dismissed it as destroyed and focused on other threats. But Miho and his team had merely shut down all systems. Wearing specialized suits, they exited their ship and spacewalked across the debris field that floated between them and the Zarkan flagship. "Enemy point defense systems will fire on anything larger than 1 meter across," Miho told his team through their secure comms. "Stay small, stay quiet." For 2 hours, they pushed through space, using debris as shields. No Confederation species would have attempted such a mission, the risks were too great, the chances of success too small. Meanwhile, Commander Jaiwo executed a plan that confused both allies and enemies. 3 human ships retreated, drawing Zarkan vessels after them. As the enemy followed, Jaiwo's ship suddenly reversed course and accelerated directly toward the heart of the Zarkan formation. "They're on a collision course," shouted the Moldari captain watching from the fortress. But Jaiwo's ship pulled up at the last second, releasing a cloud of small attack drones that attached to the Zarkan vessels and disabled their main weapons. Inside the Zarkan flagship, alarms sounded as security systems detected a breach. Miho and his team had cut through the outer hull using tools designed to work in vacuum. They moved through the ship with practiced efficiency, targeting control systems and power relays. "Humans don't fight according to any logic," reported a Zarkan officer to his commander. "They split up when they should concentrate forces. They attack when they should retreat." The Zarkan commander had no time to respond. The ship's power grid suddenly failed as Miho's team reached the engineering section. Emergency lights bathed the command deck in red as systems failed one by one. Outside, the remaining Zarkan ships found themselves surrounded. With their flagship disabled and their formation broken, they retreated, leaving Tari 7 behind. When the battle ended, the Confederation officers gathered to thank their human saviors. They found Jaiwo's team celebrating, comparing stories of close calls and collecting pieces of Zarkan technology as souvenirs.
You took incredible risks, said the Moldari captain.
By our calculations, your survival chances were below 30% for many of those maneuvers.
Jaiwo smiled. We don't calculate odds the same way you do. We see opportunities where you see impossibilities.
Lieutenant Miho arrived with his team, carrying pieces of Zarkan control panels as trophies. Their systems are impressive but inflexible, he reported.
They never expected anyone to board their ship.
They had no internal defenses. Word of the victory spread quickly through Confederation channels. Recordings of the battle were studied by military leaders across dozens of worlds.
The same phrase appeared in report after report: the humans fight differently.
Within days, Confederation commanders began requesting human officers to advise their units.
Earth's unorthodox tactics had proven effective against an enemy that had seemed unstoppable.
But some Confederation leaders watched with growing unease as more human ships joined the war effort. The footage of humans celebrating after combat, treating war almost like a sport, disturbed many of the older species.
They're effective, admitted a Tellurian general, but can we control what we've unleashed? 6 months into the war, the tide had turned dramatically.
Where once the Zarkan Empire pushed relentlessly toward the Confederation core worlds, now they found themselves on the defensive. Human military leaders had gradually taken command positions throughout the Confederation forces, transforming how the war was fought. General Hyunwoo Kim sat at the head of the War Council table, surrounded by representatives from 12 different species. The room's holographic display showed Zarkan territory, with red markers indicating their remaining strongholds. The enemy expects us to follow up our victory at Betelner with a direct assault on their supply lines, Hyunwoo explained, pointing to the obvious route.
So we will do something completely different.
Several alien officers shifted uncomfortably.
The Moldari admiral raised his hand.
General, with respect, the logical next step is clear.
Their defenses are weakened in that sector. Hyunwoo smiled. And that is exactly why they will concentrate their remaining forces there.
Instead, we will split into 30 smaller battle groups and strike simultaneously at these mining outposts and agricultural worlds.
30 groups?
The Tellurian commander's eyes widened.
Our doctrine states that forces should never be divided beyond 5 operational units.
Their doctrine says the same thing, Hyunwoo replied.
That's why they'll never expect it. Across Zarkan space, the new strategy unfolded with brutal efficiency. Small, fast-moving human-led teams struck without warning, destroyed critical infrastructure, and disappeared before reinforcements arrived.
The phrase "hit fast, hit hard, disappear" became the new battle doctrine, replacing millennia of formal engagement protocols. Commander Jaiwoo Park led one of the most successful strike teams. Her ships used asteroid fields for cover and powered down all systems to drift past Zarkan patrol vessels. Her pilots had mastered techniques that the aliens considered suicidal, like skimming gas giants to mask their energy signatures or executing burn and flip maneuvers that strained their ship's structural limits. After a particularly daring raid that destroyed a major Zarkan fuel processing center, Jaiwo's team gathered in their ship's mess hall to celebrate. They had captured enemy weapons and uniform pieces, which they displayed as trophies.
To the Zarkan's confusion, Lieutenant Miho toasted, raising a cup of synthesized alcohol. The crew cheered.
A Viridian officer who had joined their team watched with obvious discomfort.
I don't understand, he said quietly to Jaiwoo. You celebrate as if this is a game. Don't you fear death? Jaiwoo considered this.
We respect death, but we don't let fear of it stop us from living. Or from fighting effectively.
The Viridian shook his head. Before humans joined the war, battles followed proper protocols. There were rules. And you were losing, Jaiwoo reminded him.
The Zarkan, desperate to counter the unpredictable humans, began employing weapons forbidden by ancient Confederation treaties. On the colony world of Proxima 3, they released a biological agent that targeted the respiratory systems of all oxygen-breathing species. 10,000 civilians died before evacuation ships arrived.
The news reached General Hyunwoo during a strategy session. The room fell silent as footage showed the victims, many of them children.
The alien commanders expected horror, perhaps even a call for peace negotiations.
Instead, Hyan's expression hardened. They want to escalate? Then we will show them true escalation. Prepare for Operation Dark Mirror.
That evening, Commander Jaiwu addressed all human-led forces in a system-wide broadcast that was intercepted and shared across both Confederation and Zarkan space. For every innocent life they take, we push 10 systems deeper into their territory, she declared, her voice calm but filled with cold determination. They believe they understand war.
We will teach them otherwise. Confederation diplomats watched the broadcast with growing alarm.
The Moldari ambassador sent an urgent message to his government. The humans view this atrocity not as a reason to seek peace, but as justification for greater violence.
They may be more dangerous than we realized. Lieutenant Miho's Special Operations Team received their most ambitious mission yet, infiltrating the Zarkan's primary weapons research facility.
Previous Confederation attempts had failed, with all operatives captured or killed. The facility has 7 layers of security, the briefing officer explained. No non-Zarkan has ever penetrated beyond the 3rd.
Miho studied the schematics. What if we don't try to bypass their security? What if we go through it?
3 days later, Miho's team disguised themselves as captured Confederation officers being transported for interrogation. Using forged credentials stolen in previous raids, they passed through 5 security checkpoints before they were discovered. Instead of surrendering, they fought their way to the central research vault and barricaded themselves inside. For 6 hours, they transmitted vital intelligence about experimental Zarkan weapons while holding off elite guards. When a rescue team finally extracted them, Miho carried data drives containing the facility's complete research database intelligence that could cripple the Zarkan's entire defense network. The Confederation Council met in emergency session after reviewing the operation. The humans have achieved in 6 months what our forces couldn't do in years, admitted Council Leader Tezer.
But at what cost to galactic civilization? They have transformed this conflict into something we barely recognize.
The massive human-led fleet emerged from hyperspace above the Zarkan homeworld. 187 ships arranged in a formation no Confederation tactician would have approved, seemingly chaotic, with deliberate gaps and asymmetrical groupings that defied conventional military wisdom. On the command deck of the flagship Indomitable, General Hyunwoo Kim surveyed the Zarkan planetary defenses. Their once mighty orbital platforms, which had protected this world for centuries, now seemed vulnerable, their predictable positions easy to exploit.
Begin the operation, he ordered calmly. What followed was unlike anything the galaxy had witnessed in recorded history.
Human ships darted through the defensive grid, exploiting blind spots that the Zarkan engineers had never considered. Smaller craft performed maneuvers that strained both vessels and pilots, coming at angles that automated defense systems couldn't track fast enough. Commander Jaiwo Park led the primary assault team. Her voice remained steady as she directed the attack. Group 3, create a diversion at the northern pole.
Lieutenant Miho, your team has clearance for surface deployment.
From observation decks across Confederation space, alien diplomats and military leaders watched in stunned silence.
The battle unfolded with terrible efficiency.
The humans fought not as individuals but as a coordinated force that seemed to share a single mind. They're communicating faster than their technology should allow, whispered a Tellurian scientist.
It's as if they instinctively know what their companions will do next.
Within 6 hours, the Zarkan orbital defenses had collapsed. Lieutenant Miho's ground forces secured the Imperial Palace while suffering minimal casualties. The Zarkan Supreme Commander, who had vowed never to surrender, was captured trying to escape through an underground tunnel. 18 hours after the battle began, the Zarkan Empire, which had terrorized the galaxy for decades, formally surrendered to human officers. The war that Confederation strategists had predicted would last years, perhaps decades, ended in a single day. As celebration erupted across Confederation worlds, the Council convened an emergency session. The members sat in unusual silence as they reviewed footage from the final battle. The images showed human soldiers efficiently neutralizing Zarkan resistance with ruthless precision.
Most disturbing to the council was the ease with which humans transitioned between combat and normalcy, laughing in joking moments after taking lives.
They enjoy it, whispered one counselor, a Viridian elder whose species had evolved beyond physical conflict millennia ago. War is not a burden to them, but an art form they have perfected.
Council leader Tezer nodded gravely.
We invited them to save us, not knowing what we were unleashing. 3 weeks later, Commander Jaiwo Park and her officers received orders to attend a ceremony on the Confederation hubworld. They expected medals, perhaps even new command assignments, as the Confederation incorporated human military doctrine into their defense forces. Instead, they found themselves facing the full council in formal session, with representatives from all 28 non-human species present. Commander Park, began Tezer with unusual formality, on behalf of the Galactic Confederation, we extend our gratitude for Earth's service in the conflict with the Zarkan Empire.
Jaiwo nodded, sensing something was wrong in the measured tone of the alien leader's voice. However, Tezer continued, after extensive deliberation, the containment directive has been unanimously approved.
Effective immediately, Earth's military forces are restricted to your solar system permanently.
A murmur of shock ran through the human officers. Lieutenant Miho stepped forward. Restricted? After we saved your worlds? The Moldari ambassador spoke next, his blue skin rippling with what humans had learned was anxiety. While we value your species' contribution, we have determined that humans represent a fundamental risk to galactic stability. You're afraid of us, Jaiwo said, understanding dawning on her face. With reason, Tezer replied. No species in recorded history has shown such enthusiasm for warfare. Your techniques, while effective, violated dozens of civilized combat protocols. Your soldiers collected trophies from fallen enemies. You transformed conflict into something that horrified even the Zarkan. In the weeks that followed, human forces were politely but firmly escorted back to Earth. The Confederation provided generous trade agreements and access to technology as compensation, but military restrictions remained absolute. Human ships would not be permitted to carry weapons beyond Mars. As Jaiwo's transport approached Earth, she stood at the viewport watching her home planet grow larger. General Hyunwoo joined her, his expression thoughtful. They'll regret this decision someday, he said quietly. Jaiwo wasn't so sure.
Maybe they're right to fear us. We ended in months a war they couldn't win in years. At least we've secured peace for our children, Hyunwoo replied.
1 year later, a new sign appeared at Confederation outposts across the galaxy.
It showed Earth enclosed in a red circle with simple text in multiple languages, in case of war, do not break human seal. And so it came to pass that humans became both the saviors and the bogeymen of galactic society, respected, feared, but never again allowed to fight in conflicts beyond their solar system. The species that had proven too good at war found itself permanently confined to peace.